Hey everybody, thanks very much for joining us for the webinar today. I know what many of you are thinking. This guy sounds way more interesting than Mike Williams. And you'd be right, because Mike Williams is out of the office today, and I'm filling in for him. My name is Henry Skey. I'm an account executive here at RingPartner and a longtime fan of all things content. Hear a lot about how content can be delivered in a number of different ways. Smartphone, tablets, eventually we're going to have it in our brain, which is all well and good, but we're still starving for content, especially with all the increased access to it. So it's always good to be able to have someone that knows what they're talking about, which is why we have Clayton Lainsbury as the presenter for this webinar. Clayton has been developing and implementing online marketing strategies since 2004, so he's just had his 10-year anniversary. Clayton, congratulations. In his early days, he was an affiliate for Party Gaming, Party Poker, where he leveraged a community-based strategy to drive high ROI leads to their poker platform. He later had a stint at NeverBlue, a global CPA network, where he managed network-to-network activity and oversaw their internal email marketing efforts. Fun fact, Clayton and I used to sit facing each other, and I never got tired of looking at that mug each and every morning. Clayton is now the founder and CEO of CrowdContent, a content marketplace that makes it easy for businesses to connect with talented writers. Before I pass it off, guys, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat window, and we'll let Clayton do his presentation, and then at the end, I'll filter through some questions to him. We're scheduled to go from 10 to 11, so hopefully we get to that point. All right, that's enough from me. I'm sure you're all very tired of hearing me talk. I'm going to pass it off to Clayton. Clayton, go ahead.
All right, Henry, thanks a lot. Thanks for that very interesting and outstanding introduction. I'm excited to be here and talk to the RingPartner audience. Hopefully, bring a little bit of a different angle to what you typically probably look into for your marketing strategies. You don't always hear content and pay-per-click or pay-per-call being discussed in the same conversation. So, we can sort of look at how those two strategies can come together and, give you that extra edge out there. As Henry mentioned, I am the CEO of CrowdContent. We are a content creation platform, essentially a marketplace that makes it easy for businesses to connect with talented writers and create content for all kinds of different needs, whether that's landing pages, ebooks, or blog content, or even tweets or Facebook posts. So I'll just get started here and give you a little overview of what we're going to talk about today. So essentially what we're going to do at first here is talk about gatekeepers. I'll let you know what I think those guys are and sort of how to keep them happy. And then we're going to talk about increasing your quality score and lowering your CPC. And we're going to talk about using the right kind of landing page copy as well to help you convert at a higher rate. And then we're going to look into a little bit about site reputation and SEO traffic. And then finally, I'm going to share my screen with you and show you a little bit about the CrowdContent platform and just show you some ways that you can leverage it to get some great content for your PPC strategies. So let's jump right into it. And like Henry said, if anybody's got questions, don't hesitate to just throw them up there. We can answer them mid-presentation or at the end. So what are gatekeepers? Now, this is kind of my own little theory here. I actually wrote a blog post about it once. I'm not sure if anybody read it, but essentially, to me, the gatekeepers are, the organizations out there that you have to please or, somehow let them give you access to their audience. So obviously, the big one is Google. And I've also had this kind of metaphor before, and some of you younger guys might be able to relate to it. I have no idea why that keeps coming up right now. But when you're at a club, you're standing in the line trying to get into a fancy bar downtown with your team, and the line's just way too long, right? So what do? You gather $5-10 from each guy, and you go to the bouncer and you juice them to get in, right, ahead of the crowd. So essentially, Google is the bouncer of the internet. And the way you juice Google is not with cash, but with content. Okay, so essentially, Google wants you to provide fresh, relevant, high-quality content to their audience, and that's the only way they're going to let you in and give you access to market to that audience, whether that's through AdWords, like through a paid channel, or whether that's through natural organic search as well, right? So that's kind of the point we're trying to get across here, and just a little bit of theory to help you understand why content is so important and why it can help you, get the edge and lower your costs as well. Some other gatekeepers to, sort of expand on here are Facebook, of course. There's Mark, and Yahoo. So looking at an email example, they all have their different areas. What the hell is that? Okay, hopefully that stops that from coming up. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, so essentially, you've got Google, who's a search network, Facebook, that's a social network, so a gatekeeper to reach a social audience, and then Yahoo Mail is just an example of an email marketing provider that you would have to also please with content to get access to their audience, or in that sense, you're going to end up in their junk filter or just getting blocked altogether. So again, basically what we're trying to say here, you can see that guy's not very happy there. That's Google if you have zero or crappy content on your website. And of course, if you have high quality content on your website, they're going to be very happy, and they're going to be willing to open up those gates and let you access their audience. And that leads into my next point, especially with Google and AdWords, is they're actually going to give you a discount to access their audience because they're so happy with what you're doing for that audience, right? Again, even if you look at a lot of the language around Google's mission statement, they're always talking about providing their audience with the most relevant search results with a great experience and delivering exactly what that user was actually searching for, right? So the more you can actually do that, again, the happier they're going to be, and they're going to let you into the audience first of all. But again, they're going to raise that quality score, right? And I think a lot of you guys know that with an increased quality score comes a lower cost per click, and just basically makes your entire process a lot easier on AdWords altogether. You probably will get your ads approved a lot quicker. You'll run into less issues. And again, you'll have the lower cost per click, right? So another thing to keep in mind here is, I think, it's not a secret anymore, but Google does have manual reviewers out there. So, I think initially they're obviously working some automated algorithms to check the content on your site, see how that matches your ads and your headlines, etc. But, eventually somebody's going to come along, some intern at Google there, and, they're going to go through your website and just see what's on there. And, if they see a thin landing page with no other content on that URL, that's going to hurt your quality score in some way, right? So, the days of kind of trying to trick Google or game the system are over, right? So we really have to, design your content for humans and expect that they're going to be reviewing it. So let's get into landing page copy a little bit here, and just some best practices that can help you convert at a higher rate out there. So, one of the big things, and probably one of the easiest things I think you can do out there, is matching your ad copy with the copy on your landing page. So the key here is, you really want alignment the entire way through the conversion process. So even from the keyword they searched, and then to the headline on your ad, and then the headline on your landing page. The more you can make that match up, the less friction you're going to have along the way, and the more people are going to be comfortable going through with the process and converting, right? So this is just one example of a landing page we have and an ad we have. I'm not saying we're the best example out there, but we do have a couple things in place here that can sort of show what I'm talking about here. So you can see the headline on the ad there is Web Content Writers, and the headline on the landing page is Professional Website Content Writers. So it doesn't exactly match up, but it's pretty close, and you're going to have that feeling that you're still on the same path that you thought you were on as a user. And you really want to stress benefits and not features. Now, you might have heard this before, and it's extremely important when it comes to basically pitching or selling anything, whether it's your business to an investor or your service or product to a customer. So, just try to really think about what are the benefits that this person is going to get when they use my product or after they sign up, and try to avoid features, because nobody really cares about your product. They just care about what's in it for me, right? So, you can see here, this is a little bit farther down our landing page where we're trying to stress a lot of the benefits. And, after looking at this, I would even challenge our team to be a little bit better with, actually stressing benefits. I think the top 3 there could maybe be improved upon, because those are almost feature related as well, easy to use, fast turnaround, and high quality. But the 2 on the bottom there, be number 1 on Google and dominate social media, those are very benefit-driven statements. So as a viewer, if that's your goal, to be number 1 on Google, and you see that that line there, it speaks directly to what you want to get out of it as a user, and that's very powerful. So you also want to be very clear and concise on your landing pages. So, I know a lot of the viewers out there, or the listeners, are doing a lot of mobile landing pages. So, it's even more important, I think, with mobile to be very clear and concise. But just on the web in general, it's different than reading a book or a magazine or a newspaper. You have to forget about some of the things, your English teacher taught you in school, and really write for the web. So one of the key things is short sentences, especially to start with. You want to be snappy and just get people reading your content. And then short paragraphs as well. So by breaking up the content, you're going to make it easier for that user to digest the content, and it'll look a lot less intimidating. You've probably had this before, where you come to a page and you just see a huge block of content. You're probably not going to want to move forward with it because it looks like a lot of work, to be frank. So again, with mobile landing pages, I would almost say even 1 sentence per paragraph. I would go that, I would break it up that much just to make it like super easy for that reader to get through the content. Have telling or talking subheaders as well. So again, you're making it easy for that reader to see what you're talking about. They don't have to read every word. They can scan it and just see some subheaders to know exactly what you're talking about, without reading the entire piece of content. And by having them know what those sections are, it's going to help them or encourage them to actually end up reading all the content anyways. But there has been a lot of studies out there that show most people just read the headline, maybe scan some subheaders and move on. And that's just the way, the way the internet works these days, the way our attention spans have developed in this sort of fast-paced world, I guess, these days. And of course, you want to have a call to action. So you've probably heard this over and over again, but do not have any landing pages without a call to action, and make it very, very clear what you want them to do. And then, of course, you want to match that up with, maybe the button you have to submit the form. Match your copy up with the statement on that button as well. And of course, you want to be error-free. So we want to look professional here, and so do your best to check your content over at the end, or use maybe a professional if you're not the best writer or don't have the time for it. This is another question we get a lot, is how long should the content be on my landing page? And I've got a few kind of rules of thumb here that I've learned over the years in the affiliate industry, and then now working with content for the last while. But essentially, when a user gets to your landing page, they're going to have some degree of anxiety, with moving forward, because they're either giving up their personal contact information, or they're actually, whipping out their credit card and going to make a payment, right? So the goal for you at that point is to remove that anxiety. Essentially, if there is high anxiety or a high level of commitment, meaning, entering a lot of information for maybe, an insurance lead or something like that, or if there's an actual transaction involved. So you're making a purchase instead of just making a sign up or doing a sign up. I think that's when you want to go longer with your content. And the reason you want to do that is, that user is going to have more questions. They're going to have more anxiety. So you can answer those questions and basically strategically reduce that anxiety. And you'll notice a lot of this in kind of those business opportunity offers that used to be popular, where it's a big commitment and a lot of people are skeptical about it maybe. But the tactic, it works well, where you're leading that user through a bit of a story, calming them down a little bit, and getting them excited to sign up or make that purchase. Whereas, if it's just a one field or a two field sign up, there's not a lot of anxiety involved. You really want to make that as short as possible and just, maybe be more visual focused to get them excited and enter that form and hit submit.
Hey, Clayton, I'm going to stop you. I got a good question here from Deborah. Says, I'm a writer for CrowdContent. What do you think is most important? Great content or SEO? And how do you find the balance so you don't get bounced for too much SEO? Does the 2 to 3% density rule still apply among the recent Google updates? That's a two-parter. So I guess the first part is, how do you find the balance so that you don't get bounced for too much SEO?
Yeah, great question. Good to hear from you, Deb. I guess the balance, the way to answer that is there's really two audiences on the internet, right? There's people that are going to read your content, but then there's the machines, which are, the crawlers for Google and Bing, etc., right? So I think when you're looking at content, you always have to take both audiences into consideration. But what has happened recently is a lot of the emphasis has now went away from writing for the machines, and it's more now on writing for humans. Part of that is just because you want people to actually read your content and stick around, and basically build an audience and a community with your website. But the other part is that the machines have now started to act more like humans, right? And like I said earlier, the manual review is in process with Google as well. They're actually checking your websites. So the balance is key, but I think if you actually just write for humans first and then naturally include, some keywords related to your product or service, I think that's the correct approach these days. And then with regards to, keyword percentages, again, there's a lot of sort of, varied opinions right now on the internet about that, but I think you do want to just keep it more natural is the solution there. So, don't look for any hard percentages or any kind of machine type rules there, but just be natural and write for your audience. And I think, Google's going to detect that, and they're going to treat you a lot better, and again, increase your overall quality score because they can see that you're doing something valuable for their users.
Very cool. And then
that answers your question.
Yeah, I hope it does. That sounds like it. And she also asked, does the 2 to 3% density rule still apply among the recent Google updates?
Right. So like I just said, I think I'm not 100% sure on that, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of gray area there, but I think what people are leaning towards now is just not shooting for any hard percentages in that sense, but really just kind of letting it happen more naturally.
Right. Okay. Thanks very much.
No problem. So yeah, I just wanted to finish this part of the presentation off with a couple, other benefits that you can get from using, quality content with your marketing efforts. We just touched on SEO, so I'm not going to go in depth into that, but, the more content you are publishing to your site, you're going to have that sort of natural organic traffic start to come in, and it's going to be residual as well, right? So that's a very long-term strategy that you can benefit from, even without focusing on it too much, just by regularly updating and adding content to your site. You can also build thought leadership by publishing a lot of great content. So we even see RingPartner does a great job of that. You can go to their blog, and they've always got great content up every week that is relevant to pay-per-call affiliates, and really providing insights and tips for those affiliates and advertisers as well. So really positions them as a thought leader in the industry, and it gains a lot of trust, right? So if you're coming to RingPartner for the first time, you can go there quickly. You see, these guys know what they're talking about. This is a company I want to work with. It has a really powerful effect. And that also leads to, social media exposure as well. So, really, if you don't have content to tweet about or post to Facebook, what do you really have, right? I mean, you're going to maybe tweet about your company, the benefits of working with your company, but, that only gets you so far. And again, like we said earlier, people aren't really interested and don't care about your service or your product. They really just care about what's in it for me, right? So if you're providing value, through insights or tips or whatever, then that's the kind of stuff that's going to get looked at, and it's going to get shared as well. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to flip over to my other screen here and just show you guys a little bit about CrowdContent, how you can use it, to get great content for your pay-per-call marketing strategies. Okay, here we go. So when you log into the platform, you're going to see this this area first. This is the dashboard, and again, this is a marketplace and a set of tools to really help you easily connect with those talented writers and then manage that content. So on the dashboard, we can see some recent activity here. So we can see, 24 hours ago, this particular order for the CrowdContent blog was ready for review by a writer named Caitlin McDonald. And we see some more activity as we go down here. So the dashboard's always keeping you up to date on what's happening with your content orders. And on the right here, we have some links to recent blog posts on our blog. So the first thing you're going to want to do is fund your account. I'll just go through that really quickly because it's not the interesting part, but basically you want to add funds to your account, and then you can use those funds to place orders with our writers. So you enter the amount here, you click continue, and then you have the option to pay with credit card or with PayPal. And if you pay with credit card, you can actually save your card on file and save yourself a little bit of time. So that's where you would add funds to your account. But let's get into the writers here. So you see in the top section here, we have the 4 main categories. And I'm going to look at the writers. So, basically you can expand your view here. You can view 100 at a time. But the writers on the CrowdContent platform, they all go through a pretty rigorous application process. And, we check all their information, see where their address is, ensure they're not coming in on a proxy IP or anything like that. And then they actually have to write a sample on the spot to, sort of prove their skill level. And then what we do is we really just ensure that writer is good enough to get on the platform. So we might assign them, a 2 or 3-star quality level, which I'll get into a little bit later. But the really cool thing about our platform is that we actually gamify the entire writer side of the system. So writers, if you see a 4-star writer, that writer is there for a reason because clients have actually rated them well and they've performed well on the network. So every writer's rank is actually determined by their performance on the platform. So not just by us saying, oh, this guy looks good or doesn't look good. So I'm just looking at a profile here of Rachel L. And another cool thing we do here is we provide tons of information to you to help you make decisions. So you can see some statistics here about Rachel, how many orders she's done, actually how many words she's written. And then you can even see her writing speed, which is her turnaround time. So, on average, she's going to write about 317 words per hour for you. So if you place a 317-word order, it's going to be done in an hour. Up here, you can see she has a couple of badges. This means she's in the top 10% of writers in these categories. Down on the left here, you can actually see specific category ratings. You can see how many orders she's done in each category. and then her average rating in that category. And you can also check out a sample. So this is the sample that the writer completed to get into the platform. So it just gives you a little idea of what their style is like. And then we can easily flip through the writers, and keep searching them until we find the one that we like. And up here are a few quick action items. If you want to place a direct order with this writer, you can. You can also favorite them, or you can add them to a team, which I'll touch on quickly. So we have a couple of teams here. This is our content marketing team. And basically what this will allow you to do is create orders that will go only to this team and not the rest of the network.
Clayton, if I may interject, I got a couple questions from Francisco Cinta. If you could indulge us. It's a two-parter. What copyright protection do we get by using CrowdContent?
Great question. So basically all the rights are transferred to the client when they purchase the content. So that means that you can pretty much do anything you'd like with it in the sense that, if you do want to put your own name on it, you can. A lot of our writers are comfortable with ghostwriting, which is what that's called. And, that is part of our terms and conditions, so we're okay with that. But you can also, resell that content if you wish. But basically, you own the content 100%. We do not resell it or use it for any other purposes.
Okay. That sounds good. And second question, is Spanish content available?
Great question. Yeah, so it is actually. So we do content in multiple languages. The majority of our writers are English writers, but we do have a small pool of Spanish, Portuguese, French, and several other languages as well. So, and actually I'll show this when I get to the create order form, but you are able to select different languages. So maybe I'll just segue to that right now. So up here you can see we have a create order button. If you want to jump to a specific type of order, you can here. Tweets, Facebook posts, product descriptions if you're an e-commerce store, or images. But most often you're just going to use custom order, which is anything, basically anything you want to do, like a blog post, press release, etc. And if you just hit create order, it'll actually just default to that custom order type. And then here's your order form. So this is where you're telling the writer, exactly what you want to get out of it. So you can select a folder. This just helps you organize the content. Let's put this in CrowdContent blog. Obviously, you want to create a title. That can be descriptive, or it can be the actual title of what you want if you're very specific and you know what you want. So maybe it's, top 5 tips for PPC. Another chance here to switch the order type if you'd like to. And then here you can actually choose open, team, or direct, which I touched on a little bit earlier. So an open order, this is important to know, is it's going to be available to any qualified writer at the level that you've picked, which I'll get into a little bit more in a second here. A team order is only going to be available to writers on a specific team that you've already created. And a direct order is only going to go to one particular writer. Okay, so the way the process works with a lot of clients is they come in, they do an open order to test the pool, see who's working for them out there, and then after they get a great piece of content back from one writer, they'll just start working directly with that writer, and that keeps the brand and the voice consistent throughout their content strategy. Select a category here. And that just helps us, direct these orders in the right direction for you. And then here's the bulk of what you want to do, and that's the instructions for your writer. So, you want to keep these concise. You don't want to write a novel here, but definitely tell the writer exactly what you're looking for. Publish URL, recommend putting that down. That's where the content's going to be published, and that helps the writer understand, where your brand is and get a feel for your brand and your website. And then example URLs. Another highly recommended area that I don't think people use enough. But essentially you can put a URL in here. Maybe it's a competitor, a thought leader in your space, and then put a note about what you want the writer to, take from that example, but we find that showing examples to writers is a really quick and easy way for them to quickly understand, exactly what you're looking for. And then here's where you choose your pricing and your word count. So we touched on this a bit earlier. There's 4 levels of writers in our system right now, 4-star being the highest level, and that means those writers have consistently received awesome ratings from real clients, and our algorithm has moved them up to the top based on that performance. And then over here you can choose your word count. So you can see this bar on the right here is an order summary, and it's going to show you the details about your order the entire way through. So if you change your word count, it's going to tell you exactly how much that's going to cost. Let's say we go down to 2-star. Again, it just tells you exactly what you're looking at cost-wise there. You can place the order on a schedule if you'd like. So, if you want this order repeated every Monday, you can just simply click there, and it's going to go into a schedule for you and repeat every single Monday for you. So that can save you a lot of time. And at the bottom we have some advanced options here. So you just click yes to view them. And there's a lot of stuff you can enter here. You can enter some keywords, paper call, maybe that's one of our keywords. You can add another one. The limit is actually based on your word count here. So if we go down to 550, it's only going to let you put in 3, and that's just to avoid you focusing on too many keywords, words, kind of like we touched on earlier with Deb. You don't want to be too mechanical out there anymore. You want to be natural, so we don't want to be stuffing all these keywords into the content. List your target audience. That really helps the writer know who they're writing for. Here's the languages that we just talked about. So, we do have the more common ones listed here, but we can do content in any language. So if there's a language on here you don't see that you need, just contact your account manager. They're going to help you get that content created. And you can even choose between different styles. So, if you are in Canada and you want the writer to use, OU when they spell flavor instead of just O, you can select Canadian English, and it's going to instruct that writer to use that spell checker in our system. Processing time, you can extend it if you'd like, and that just gives the writer, this amount of time to complete it before it would expire on them. So let's say 3 days. And then you can pick various things here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but really if you want to, you can get into detail with exactly what you need. And then you can add an attachment if you'd like, if that's going to support your description in some way. And then you'd really just hit place order, and that would put the order out into the system. Now I'm not going to place this one, but I'll show you where you can view this content after it is live and completed, and basically how you can manage the whole process. Let's put this right back to the original view. Okay, so this is what you're going to see after you've placed some orders. So again, kind of like the dashboard we showed you at first, you're seeing all the different statuses here. So it's always keeping you up to date exactly what's happening with your content. You can see this order here is ready for review, as is this one from Rachel. This one's placed right now. It hasn't been picked up by the writer. And this one's actually paused. So, maybe we need to make some changes on that. I don't know, Laura, our marketing coordinator, manages this account, so she must have her reasons for having that one paused. Over here, you can see the progress. So you can see these ones are 100% complete because they're ready for review. And then after it's been accepted, so after you've reviewed the content and hit that accept button, we're going to replace the progress bar with the rating that you gave that writer. So you can kind of always see how you've been rating these writers, how the performance has been. You can also use another view up here in the top right. If you're a power user, a lot of people use this view. It just shows more content in one screen. Okay. And then we have some easy filtering options on the left here too. So if I just want to see the orders that are ready, I just click ready. It's that simple. If I want to see the orders that are ready in the CrowdContent blog folder, I just click there. and then I can refresh the search as well. You can do a lot of great searches up top here too. So, if you've done a lot of orders and then you want to see how things have been going, you can just view the ones that you've rated as exceeded expectations by clicking that button. And what this is going to help you do is see, okay, these writers I'm ranking very highly. Maybe I want to build a team for them and, just place my orders with them going forward. Okay, so one of the last things I'll just touch on here is, we do have a stock image library of over 15 million images. So this is possible through a partnership we have with Big Stock Photo, a great company to work with. And, basically this is 15 million high-quality stock images that you have access to that have been, vetted by Big Stock, and, they're non-royalty as well, so you're not going to get in trouble for using them. It's a lot better than just finding them out on Google Images. But it's very easy to use this tool. So, let's say we're interested in this image. We click on it. All we do is hit download, and that's going to download it right to our computer. And it's just going to take the cost off of the credits you have with our platform. So that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna end it there. And yeah, that's just an easy way to use our platform and to get great content for your strategies. And I guess we'll open it up to any more questions if there are any out there.
I don't think we have any more from the attendees, but I had a quick question, Clayton. Platform looks awesome. I like how easily you can see the different writers. How would you describe a typical writer for you? Is there sort of a certain demographic? Are they all English creative writing graduates, or what's sort of a typical writer for CrowdContent?
Yeah, great question, Henry. So we have a mix, a really wide mix of writers on our platform, ranging from professionals that do this every day and look for online writing jobs across the internet. So at other platforms, not just at CrowdContent, and this is what they do for 8-10 hours a day, and they make a living off it. And then we also have writers that kind of do this for a hobby, where maybe during the daytime they're an electrician by trade. And then in the evening they like to log on to CrowdContent and see if there's any orders that are related to their expertise area. So having that kind of diversity on the network is really great, because for clients you can almost always find a writer who can write about the topic you're looking for. I don't think we've ever had a situation where we can't find a writer for a client's needs. So yeah, does that kind of answer your question? It is a definite mix, but I'd still say like the bulk of the content that gets completed is by those writers in that professional group that are doing this on a daily basis, and a lot of them do have English degrees or creative writing degrees, and 95% of the writers are from the U.S. The remaining percentage are mostly from Canada, the UK, Australia, a little bit of New Zealand, and then the other languages we talked about. Obviously, those writers are from those particular areas.
Okay, and I guess I had one more last question for me, and I'm sorry I might have missed this. Can we see samples of each person's writing? If we want somebody to work for us, do they have like sort of a sample set that we can look at? I mean, if you're trying to decide between 2 or 3 different writers, is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you can do is you can come into the writers section here, click on their profiles, and then each writer is going to have a sample. They'll have at least one sample at the bottom here, and you can just click on that. It pops up here for you to read through it, and this is the sample that they wrote to get into the network. So the key thing to remember here is that this writer had to write this content on the spot in the middle of doing their application. So it's definitely a challenge for them, but it does give you a really good view of what can that writer do and what is their style like. And like I said, every writer is going to have that sample. If you do read it and you want to know a little bit more about that writer, then you can definitely contact your account manager and get some more samples, maybe some more work that they've done. You can see here I am my own account manager here, but every client is assigned a dedicated account manager. It doesn't matter how big or small you are, and you just click on this little question mark to see all the contact information for that person.
Very cool. I'm impressed. I'm sorry to say I'm guilty. This is my first time seeing the CrowdContent platform, so I'll be sure to visit more often. All right, everybody. Clayton, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or are we good?
No, I think that's it. I just wanted to say thanks, for having us on, and yeah, if there's any other questions after, people can always reach out to our Twitter account at CrowdContent, and we'll get a hold of you on there.
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and for those wanting to watch the recording later, it will be up in about a week at RingPartner's YouTube channel, youtube.com/RingPartner. Please follow us on Twitter at RingPartner, and visit our blog, visit our website. We'll be happy to hear from you. If you want to contact us via email, just send us a note at contact@ringpartner.com, or give us a call, 888-656-3726. And hopefully I can wrestle this webinar away from Mike Williams so that the next time you tune in, once again, it'll be the far more interesting, charismatic, good-looking host, Henry Skey from RingPartner. And speaking for Clayton Lainsbury, thanks very much.